What does it take to chase perfection in a sport where one mistake ends it all? There's a woman who isn't there to just compete. She's there to change the game and make a name that's stamped into history. But in her latest fight, she didn't just prove her dominance, she made a statement to the world of MMA. What happened next changed everything. Don't blink. She wasn't born into fame. Far from it. In the rugged landscapes of Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, a young girl named Valentina Shevchenko was growing up surrounded by hardship. Life was tough. But Valentina's mother, a martial artist herself, laid the foundation for what would become an unstoppable legacy. By the age of 5, Valentina was already learning the art of combat. Taekwondo, Muay Thai, kickboxing, judo. She was absorbing every discipline like a sponge. By the age of 12, she brutally knocked out an opponent 10 years older than her in devastating fashion, earning her nickname Bullet for her intense speed in the ring. Under the mentorship of Pavel Fedotov, a coach who would shape her into the fighter she is today, Valentina began crafting a style that was both beautiful and brutal. She quickly became a teenage champion in Muay Thai, but her ambitions stretched far beyond the regional circuits. She didn't just want to compete locally, she wanted to dominate the world. But dominance always comes with a price. So what happens when the unbreakable breaks? Valentina Shevchenko wasn't always the name on everyone's lips. Early in her UFC career, the shadow of Amanda Nunes casted a looming shadow over the division. Twice, the Bullet clashed with the Lioness, and twice she walked away with razor-thin losses. For most fighters, losses to Nunes would be a career ceiling, but Valentina was different. She never saw failure, only lessons. Those fights forged her into something greater, sharpening her technique and focus. So when Nunes retired in 2023, having conquered nearly everyone, Valentina wasn't chasing her shadow or wishing to redeem herself with one last rematch. She was ready to rule her own empire. The division no longer had a lioness reigning supreme. Instead, it had a cold, calculating predator in Valentina Shevchenko, waiting, ready to strike. After a move to flyweight, Valentina's dominance became terrifyingly evident. She claimed the title in 2018 with a victory over Joanna Jędrzejczyk and didn't just defend her belt, she annihilated anyone who dared to step into her cage. Jessica Eye fell to a head kick that still haunts highlight reels. Liz Carmouche, Jennifer Maia, Katlyn Chookagian, each challenger walked into the octagon, full of hope, only to leave battered and bewildered. It wasn't just the victories. It was the precision, the control, the methodical dismantling of opponents that set Valentina apart. 9 straight wins, 9 reminders of why she was untouchable. Fans whispered her name in the same breath as GSP. She wasn't just the flyweight queen, she was the sport's gold standard. But little did Valentina know, an unexpected threat was waiting right around the corner. March 2023, Alexa Grasso entered the octagon as an underdog. Valentina was expected to win as always. Another clinical performance, another notch on her belt, but Grasso had other plans. In a shocking upset, Grasso caught the Bullets in a 4th round submission, stealing the title from one of the most dominant champions in UFC history. The MMA world was left stunned, many fans and spectators calling it the end for her. But Valentina didn't see it that way. She saw the holes in her game, the areas to improve. She didn't sulk, didn't crumble. Instead, she went back to the drawing board, determined to turn defeat into evolution. But how do you go back from losing something you've held so tightly for so long? The answer came 6 months later. The rematch with Alexa Grasso at UFC 306 was one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year. Valentina had something to prove, not to the fans, not to Grasso, but to herself. For 5 grueling rounds, the Bullet showcased her brilliance, putting up an incredible fight that ended in a draw. She hadn't reclaimed her belt, but she'd sent a message. Valentina Shevchenko only gets better. After the fight, she uttered a chilling promise. "I'm going to fix everything, and next time, there will be no question." It was make or break at UFC 306 for Valentina. Looking at it from every angle, the card seemed to be stacked against her in almost every way. Grasso had won the previous 2 fights and was entering the first ever women's trilogy in the UFC as the first Mexican-born woman's UFC champion on Mexican Independence Day at the Sphere in Las Vegas. The pressure seemed insurmountable. When the bell rang, Alexa Grasso, although confident with the title in her corner, immediately found herself overwhelmed by Valentina's ruthless pressure. The first round was a tactical masterpiece. Shevchenko dominated the control from on top, and by the end of the round had Grasso's back with her arms, locking up a rear naked choke. Saved by the bell. By the second, Valentina was right back on top again after a beautiful trip takedown. Once again, Valentina dominated the pressure on top, leaving Grasso grasping for half-hearted submission attempts from the bottom. In the later rounds, Valentina's dominance became absolutely undeniable. Her striking dismantled Grasso's defense, mixing up a few nice combos before getting the takedown and suffocating Grasso once again. By the fifth, it was a dismantling execution of skill and grit. When the final bell rang, the judge's decision felt inevitable. All 3 scorecards read 50-45. Valentina Shevchenko was champion once more. But for Valentina, it wasn't just about reclaiming the belt, it was about proving she's untouchable. The bullet doesn't stop. The question isn't if she'll keep improving, it's who will dare to stand in her way next.